Senator Peters, and without objection, both statements of the witnesses will be included in the record. Senator Tillis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both for being here. Mr. Zakim, I would like to maybe have you and maybe Ms. Connolly get inside of Vladimir Putin's head and tell me what occurred. He's had a desire to invade Ukraine for decades. What changed that made him, what changed, or what did he calculate to make him think that he could get away with the murder and the disaster that we're seeing unfold in Ukraine? What do you think, as he was looking at the line, being able to cross that line, what changed over the past months or years that make you feel like he thought now the time was right to do it?
Go ahead.
Mr. Zakim.
Okay. A hard place to get into, Senator, that is the mind of Vladimir Putin. But here it goes. I think he's been convinced over the past number of years, as I mentioned, since 2008, but certainly reinforced over the past year plus, that the United States, NATO more broadly, will not involve themselves in the defense of Ukraine. We made that clear by not only not providing lethal weapons, but by sitting on that support for a significant amount of time, and then NATO allies doing the same. So reading the tea leaves here wasn't difficult. He knew he can go in, and it would be a limited response from the West. Perhaps he's gotten more than he's bargained for, given the response of Germany and others. But that, I think, was the calculus, Senator.
When he was gaming out the possible response by the NATO allies, which I incidentally think is critical to our long-term security, and anyone who would question that needs to open up a history book. But when he was gaming this out, do you think that he saw Turkey taking the position that they would take? Do you think he saw Switzerland breaking a decades-old tradition of being neutral, or Sweden or Finland, or the response that we've seen from Germany and our NATO allies and partners? Do you think that was in any of his scenarios for where we would be 6 days after he invaded Ukraine? Ms. Connolly?
No, Senator, because he thought he had purchased a lot of that. And this is where, malign influence has worked. I mean, my view is the reason where Putin believes he got to where he is, lack of impunity since 2008, serious impunity. And we focus on it, and then we go to the next crisis. His own isolation. And I think this is indeed a factor, and he's drunk his own historical Kool-Aid. He used that as a tool. Now he actually believes it about his legitimacy and his legacy. It speaks to what Russia is doing in Ukraine. He didn't even understand the Ukrainian people. He doesn't understand his own people. When 6,000 demonstrators come out on the street, they don't want war. They want a higher standard of living, and they want peace. He had never fathomed that Germany would make the decisions that it has, or Turkey. This is the miscalculation of his cost. And not to add another concern here, our focus must stay on Ukraine. But as many Russian analysts are saying,
I want to be
sorry.
Respectful of time, but so he has caught himself up in a knot. How do we go forward from here? How do we get to a point where this is it's already a humiliation. In 5 days, he's humiliated himself. He's not making the progress he thought he would make. He underestimated the world, the free nations' response to it. Where does he go from here? What possible exit strategy could he have other than just amping up and killing more women, more children, and starving the Ukrainian people?
Oops, we're at that point.
Yeah.
He's already accelerating.
Mr. Zakim, I want to ask you a question about the 2018 NDS. You had a little bit to do with that. How would you grade the DOD and Congress's implementation?
The Department of Defense probably gets a below-average grade in implementation. The Congress, I think, deserves a high grade in terms of oversight and pushing forward on it. Appropriating funds has not gone well, and so Congress has failed on that front.
What would you consider to be the top risk as associated with the less than stellar implementation of the 2018 NDS? What's the one risk that keeps you up at night?
That we have yet to figure out the operational concepts, and we have yet to invest in and deliver the capabilities we need to execute the objectives of the 2018 NDS, particularly in the Indo-Pacific. There is still no clarity on how we would fight, or the point is I think there are multiple approaches, and so no agreed-on approach. So the operational concepts are not sharp enough, and we clearly have not made the investments and the purchases we need and the deployment of those capabilities into theater where they'd have the deterrent impact today, let alone what we need for a conflict.
And as much as we are rightfully focusing on the situation in Europe right now, I think that we have to be able to show that we can walk and chew gum at the same time and address the priorities that were in the 2018 NDS. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Senator Tillis. Senator Kelly, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Connolly, over the last couple of weeks now,